I was sitting on a quiet park bench one evening, watching the last rays of sunlight fade into the city sky. People see me as calm, peaceful, even untouchable. But that night a stranger sat beside me, and what unfolded changed how I understood love, grief, and being alive. Before I share this story, I want you to pause for a moment. If you've ever felt alone, lost, or invisible, this message is for you. Please watch till the end, because you may hear something your heart has been waiting for. And if this story touches you, share it. The city was winding down when I found myself on that old wooden bench. The air was cool, the kind that brushes your skin and reminds you that you're still alive. I like moments like this. No cameras, no lights, no scripts. Just me, the world, and silence. People often think silence is empty. But to me, silence is a teacher. In silence, the noise inside your head begins to soften. In silence, you meet yourself. And that night, I thought I was meeting only myself until someone else joined me. The stranger didn't say a word at first, just sat down with a sigh, heavy enough to carry 1,000 stories. Their shoulders slumped, their hands trembling slightly. I didn't look directly at them, but I felt their presence like a storm cloud hovering next to me. I wanted to say something, but I also knew that sometimes the kindest thing we can give another soul is quiet space. So I waited. After a long pause, the stranger spoke. Their voice was soft, tired, the kind of tone that comes from carrying too much for too long. "Do you ever feel like you don't matter?" they asked. The question pierced the night. It wasn't directed at me as an actor or even as a person people recognize. It was a human question, a cry from the heart. I turned slightly, met their eyes. "Yes," I said gently. "More times than you might imagine." Their surprise was clear. Maybe they expected me to dismiss it or to offer some polished Hollywood-style answer. But I wasn't there to impress. I was there to be human. They began to talk. Slowly at first, then like a dam breaking. They spoke about feeling invisible in their own family, about working hard for years but never feeling appreciated, about loss that still haunted them, and dreams they once had but could no longer see a path toward. "I feel like I've been erased," they whispered. Like the world kept going and forgot I existed. I listened. I didn't interrupt. Because sometimes, the greatest gift we can give another is to simply listen without trying to fix. When they paused, I leaned back, letting the words sink in. Then I said, People think life is about adding things, more success, more money, more recognition. But I've learned something else. Life also teaches us through subtraction. When things are taken away, we discover what can never be erased." The stranger tilted their head, curious but uncertain. "What do you mean?" they asked. I took a deep breath. When love leaves, it doesn't vanish. It changes shape. When people don't see you, that doesn't mean you've disappeared. Your presence still matters, maybe more than you realize. Sometimes the world hides our light so we can discover it ourselves first. We sat in silence again after that. But this time it was different. Not heavy, not suffocating. It was a silence that carried understanding. The stranger wiped their eyes. "No one has ever put it that way before," they murmured. I smiled faintly. Sometimes words don't heal, but they can point to something deeper. What really heals is knowing you're not alone. The night air felt warmer, as if the world itself was leaning in to listen. And I knew this moment on the bench was more than chance. The stranger shifted on the bench, pulling their coat tighter as if to guard against more than just the chill in the air. "You speak as if you've carried pain," they said softly. Not quite a question, more like an observation. I nodded. "We all have. Pain doesn't skip anyone. Some just hide it better." They looked at me carefully, maybe expecting me to tell some dramatic tale. But I didn't. Because the truth about pain is this: you don't need the details to recognize it. Pain has a universal language. You feel it in the way someone lowers their eyes, in the cracks between their words, in the way they clutch at silence like a lifeline. "I used to think grief was the enemy of love," I told them. "But I've learned grief is love that's been forced to change form. It's the echo of love, still alive inside us, even when the person or dream is gone." The stranger's eyes brimmed with tears. "Then why does it feel so unbearable?" I looked out at the streetlight glowing in the distance. Because the deeper we've loved, the deeper the grief. It hurts not because love is gone, but because it was real. We sat quietly again, the night sounds filling the space. Distant traffic, a dog barking, leaves rustling in the trees. The stranger sighed. I don't know if I can keep going. I turned to them fully now, my voice calm but firm. You don't have to run. You don't even have to know the way. You just have to take the next step. That's all life asks of us sometimes. One more step. They frowned slightly. And if I don't want to? Then walk for someone else, I replied. For the people who loved you. For the people who will need you tomorrow. Sometimes survival isn't about us. It's about becoming a living memory for those who no longer can. The stranger swallowed hard. Their hands stopped trembling, just a little. After a while, I shared something that had always stayed with me. You know, people sometimes ask me why I try to be kind. They say it like it's a strategy, like kindness is some trick to get people to like you. But it's not. Then what is it? The stranger asked. Kindness is recognition, I said. When you've been broken before, you can see it in others. You don't need their story to know they're carrying something heavy. A smile, a gesture, a simple acknowledgement. These are not small things. They're proof that even in this noisy world, someone noticed you. I leaned forward slightly, my voice lower. And tonight, I want you to remember, I noticed you. The stranger's lips quivered. For the first time since sitting down, they smiled, small but real. We spoke for what felt like hours, though maybe it was only minutes. Time can play tricks when hearts are speaking more loudly than clocks. Eventually, the strangers stood. Their shadows stretched long under the streetlight. Thank you, they said simply. You'll never know what this meant to me. I wanted to ask their name, to know more about their life, but something told me not to. Maybe some connections aren't meant to be labeled. Maybe they're meant to live as pure moments, untouched by explanation. So I only nodded and they walked away, disappearing into the night. I sat there, staring after them. A strange thought entered my mind. Maybe they weren't just a stranger. Maybe they were a reflection of a younger me, a version of myself that once felt invisible and hopeless. Maybe life had sent me this mirror to remind me of how far I'd come. I stayed on that bench long after they left. The silence had returned, but it no longer felt lonely. It felt like the city was breathing with me. That's the thing about encounters like this. They change both people. They leave behind an imprint, subtle but lasting. As I finally stood to leave, I whispered a thought into the night air. Not sure if it was for them. For me, or for anyone listening, you don't need applause to matter. You don't need fame to exist. Sometimes the greatest proof of life is found in the quiet ways we touch another's soul. As I left that park bench behind, I thought about how fragile people are, and yet how strong we can become when someone simply listens. That night reminded me that no matter how much money, fame, or recognition the world gives, what truly matters is human connection. I didn't walk away with answers. Life rarely gives those wrapped neatly in a bow, but I walked away with perspective. And perspective, I've learned, is far more powerful than answers. It's the difference between seeing yourself as broken or seeing yourself as still becoming. That evening gave me lessons worth sharing, not just for the stranger, not just for me, but for anyone listening who has ever felt invisible. First, silence is not emptiness. It is space where healing begins. If you feel unseen, sit with yourself in quiet. Sometimes your own soul is waiting for you to notice it. Second, grief is not the end of love. It is love that has changed its form. When you miss someone or something you've lost, remember, the ache you feel is proof of how deeply you cared. That ache is a thread connecting you still. Third, kindness is not small. A smile, a gentle word, an act of presence can save a life. You may never know the impact of a moment of compassion, but trust me, it matters more than you imagine. Fourth, you don't need to know the whole path. You just need to take the next step. Even the smallest forward movement is proof that life still flows through you. And finally, fifth, you are never erased. No matter how invisible you feel, your existence leaves traces. In the lives you've touched, in the memories you've created, in the simple fact that you are here, breathing, alive. Now, I want to turn to you, the one hearing my voice, watching this story unfold. Maybe you've had days where you wondered if you matter. Maybe you felt too old, too tired, too forgotten. If so, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not invisible. You are not erased. You are not too late. Every scar you carry is a page in your story. Every loss you've endured has carved depth into your heart. Every moment you've survived has prepared you for the chapters still waiting ahead. If you are over 50, 60, or 70, don't let the world tell you that your best days are behind you. Your perspective, your wisdom, your compassion, these are treasures the world desperately needs right now. The sun may be setting on one season of your life, but it is rising on another. And that sunrise is waiting for you to notice it. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know if the stranger on that bench was just another person or a reflection of myself. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is what they reminded me of. That we are all carrying invisible battles. That we are all hungry to be seen. And that we all have the power to notice and uplift one another. The stranger gave me a gift that night. They reminded me that no matter how far we've come, we still need each other. And maybe, just maybe, I was able to give them the same gift in return. So tonight, or tomorrow, when you sit in your own silence, I ask you to remember this story. And if you ever meet a stranger who seems weighed down, don't rush to fix them. Don't drown them in advice. Sometimes the most healing thing you can offer is your quiet presence, your patient listening, your gentle kindness. Because kindness is never wasted. Love is never wasted. And your life, no matter how hidden it may feel, is never wasted. The stranger on the bench may have walked away into the shadows, but their story walked with me. And now, through these words, I've passed it on to you. Hold it close. Let it remind you that your best chapters are not behind you. They are here now, waiting for you to claim them.